Hi guys, welcome to another one of my interviews for Startup Without Burnout. And today I am actually introducing you to someone who is very, very close to me. He actually got me ready to go out on my own and open my business. So I had to include him, Sean Hubert. He's a health and wellness expert who works with people to improve their overall energy levels and well-being, resulting in higher levels of focus and productivity so that their goals and lifestyle dreams can be achieved faster and with more ease. So remember when we've all been talking about getting a mentor or having somebody influence you to make good decisions, not only in your lifestyle, but in your professional life? Everything's connected. And throughout Sean's 23-year career in health and wellness industry, he's worked with thousands of clients ranging from entrepreneurs and high-level executives to professionals and Olympic athletes, as well as, moms and dads with busy schedules. So he is used to it. He's seen it all. And Sean has found that all clients benefit from the signature coaching system that focuses on the inside job first and the external work second. So that's why he really is appropriate for basically anybody that needs to improve their particular situation. He believes in a holistic approach to the work that he does and with clients, and he puts attention on areas of a person's life where it basically is most needed in order to generate the client's desired results. So Sean, thank you for being a part of this.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on here today.
Of course. I'm just excited that you said yes because you're super busy, and he's also about to roll out a really cool joint venture with somebody too. So I don't know if he's ready to talk about that yet or not, but whatever he's ready to unveil, I will be more than happy to let him. So I'm going to just jump right into some of the questions that we've got, because this is a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, very high functioning people that are basically coming here to see what other successful entrepreneurs and veterans of startups have done to not burn out and to get 6-7 figure businesses built. So how did the path start, and how did you become a business owner?
So it's an interesting, how would you say, progress that I didn't really intend to do. I've always been interested in health and wellness and started exercising when I was young. So what happens a lot in life, we have these events that occur that actually push us to an area. We become very reactive to them.
Right.
So I got diagnosed with cancer like 14 years ago. I was in the best shape of my life. Went through that whole process, got the crap beat out of me, lost 45 pounds. While I was going through all this infusion stuff, a lot of these people are like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, I had nothing else to do. I'm like, I have cancer. And they would be like, "You don't look like it." And then they would ask me, like, "Why do you have all these doctors around you?" And the funny thing was, they were my clients. So I was still coaching.
The doctors or the people asking?
No, the doctors were my clients.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it was a weird thing. And these guys had all kinds of different expertise. And they'd come in and say hi, and I'd help them with their programs. So the thing that came out of personal training and going through something like that is, hey, your health isn't just on the physical level, it's on the emotional, the spiritual, and definitely the mindset. I did a lot of things differently than they said I should be doing, such as taking holistic vitamins, and now it's like the in thing to do, but back then it wasn't. And then as I went through that, they basically told me, hey, you never have children, but I have a 6-year-old, so they were wrong on that. And what it really comes down to is if we start to believe outside influences instead of ourselves, we can sometimes not venture into areas of uncomfortability. And the big thing was, as a personal trainer, I was always pushing people to do things. And what I found out is maybe I'd get 10 or 15% of the people to get great results. And when I backed off, that pressure would dissipate. They wouldn't get the results. So like anyone knows, you can get a certain amount of quick results if someone's pushing you and you're mad at them. And I hated people telling me, I can't stand you, but I love you. So it got to a point where I'm like, okay, what can I do differently? And I got introduced to coaching a long time ago. But back then it was, you have to have a PhD in psychiatry to be a coach. So then I rediscovered coaching. I got the, Tony Robbins CD pack late night. Why was I up late night watching this? Who knows? But I got from that the ability to say, hey, there's much more out there that I can work with. And that was asking people the question of, why are you doing what you're doing? The main thing that I focused on when I worked with people is their area of interest, their want first. Because if you go after every need, they freak out, can't do it. So you just start slow with them and ask them the questions about what it was interesting. I went into the health and wellness area because I had so much information and background. But the reality of what was interesting about all this is the more energy we have, the more relaxed we are, the better and more productive we can be in any area of our life. And it was so interesting to me to see that people wanted to pigeonhole like work. They wanted to pigeonhole their health. And I'm like, listen, everything's actually related. And how we put this into a sequence of disciplinary actions throughout the day will get us to where we want to be. But because some of these things are very easy to do, we sometimes forget them. So as a coach, I would be holding people accountable to the morning meditation, to writing down what they're grateful for daily, to inspiring themselves through the music they listen to, what they were watching and what they were reading. The interesting thing is you ask these people to do these things, and what I've come to find out recently is now I say to them, why are you not doing these things? If you know that this helps you, why do you not do them? And the answers we come up with are quite interesting. They're called excuses. And you really have to look at yourself and say, if I did all these things that were successful, I could be much more successful. Now, here's an interesting thing I just saw on the internet yesterday. The average person reads one book a year, and they only read the first chapter.
Oh.
Every entrepreneur reads a minimum of one book a week, successful, and some up to 2 or 3 a week. So it's interesting to say, okay, just by reading books of information, how is that activating and accessing other areas of creativity? I think that's the main thing, is we can either be reactive in life and allow things to happen to us, or like what you're going through and I'm doing is we're being proactive. We're making ourselves uncomfortable. And that's where that real growth happens. So there's this funny thing I watched today. It was this rabbi. It was amazing. This guy's got this long beard. He goes, think about a lobster. I'm like, what is this guy talking about lobsters? He goes, a lobster's real squishy on the inside, hard on the outside. So when a lobster grows and he feels irritation and pressure, what does he do? He goes under a rock, he loses his shell and grows a new one. And every time this lobster feels irritation, he goes under a rock. So he's protected, grows a shell, comes back. So he goes, what would happen if a lobster went to a medical doctor here in the United States like we do? Well, if the lobster said to the doctor, I'm feeling irritated and uncomfortable and pressure, he'd either have a Valium prescription or something for Percocet to kill the pain. So no growth happens. So the funny thing was, he goes, you have to go through the irritation and the pain to get to the area of growth, regardless of what you're doing. And I think that's the interesting thing, is there's so many weird things out there that we can pull from. Just realize that whatever you're doing to get over that uncomfortable growth, you're going to be successful as long as you have a discipline every day that lets you feel grounded, where you don't feel overwhelmed. Your diet has a huge role in that. Certain supplements will help you out. And the big thing right now is gut health. How is your gut helping you out so that when you are stressed out, the hormones that are released, the actions you take, you really can support yourself to continue to push through it. Otherwise, we get colds, we get chronic illness, and a lot of people I've been working with lately have what are called autoimmune issues. And these are things that they pretty much let go throughout their life because they were given a prescription to suppress it. Started off with maybe mono, went to Epstein-Barr, then went into chronic fatigue syndrome, and now is into lupus.
Wow.
And I get these people who are worried about dying.
Wow.
And I'm like, let's look at your diet first. What could cause an irritation? Let's clean that up first. And remember, I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm giving suggestions. I'll pull information off the internet about what these particular pH balanced diets do, how it can help them out, what certain foods will do for irritations throughout our system. Then I'll say, hey, let's take a look at when someone's stressed out, what supplements do they use up quick? Let's look at your B vitamins, your vitamin C's. Mm-hmm. Then what probiotics are you using? Because as you know, 90% of all antibiotics are given to animals, not to humans. Mm-hmm. So anything that you're ingesting that has hormones in it, your body's actually getting those hormones or those antibiotics. So they do play a toll on your intestinal tract and kill off the good bacteria. So taking your probiotics is definitely a good thing to do, in my opinion. And then there's certain digestive enzymes that will get rid of inflammation out of your body. You get rid of inflammation, your body has an easier way to recuperate from different stressors. You have more energy, and you put all this into a plan of action, you get great results. So that's how I got into doing what I do and help those people become successful. And it's so crazy to watch that person go, so you're trying to tell me that this meditation is actually going to make me healthier? I'm like, well, that with everything else for the next 3 weeks, you tell me when we're sitting down what's actually happened, and it blows their mind away. That's something so simple. I'm like, the action you take, be it negative or positive, is still energy. It's your decision on how you want to go with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, guys, I have worked with Sean before. He does not mess around. So he'll call you out, and he won't coddle, which is actually very, very nice for many people. Cause I think there's too many people getting trophies for absolutely nothing. And, Sean doesn't let you do that. he's not going to give you a trophy just for playing the game.
Right. And the thing that I want to explain to people in your audience also is this. You can go out to eat and have a couple drinks. You can have that late night where it's not a normal activity. The thing is, when you're about to go into a certain situation, like if you were a runner and you were going to run a marathon, you definitely train for that marathon. And then when you're finished, you also do something to recover. It's the same thing when you're going out. If you're good, you eat correctly before you go out. You drink more water. You take more supplements. I have all these clients who are like, oh, I can't exercise. I'm on a trip. I'm like, really? Why can't you? Well, you know, this and that. I said, listen, if you want to stay at the top of your game, here's some things. And a couple of the guys were like, listen, man, if I didn't do what you were saying, I would have definitely blown up at these particular people. And it kept me cool, level-headed. We got the negotiation completed. I wasn't getting sucked into their negative game. I kept my game plan in play. We got great results. I found some commonality by listening to them instead of just listening to myself argue. Once we found this common interest, huge things happened. And he was quite shocked at how just taking a second before he spoke and doing some breathing techniques before the meeting really allowed him to set that mindset. He wanted to go into that meeting, and what he wanted to accomplish, he kept on track. Even though he was getting somewhat sucked into that negativity, he just held his own, and it came out great.
Awesome. That's awesome. So I know that you have built a couple of multiple six-figure businesses, and then, you know, you've fallen back, and then you've gotten built up again, and then you've done it again. And so you're kind of always on constant build mode. So how long did it take you to hit your first six figures?
I mean, it depends on what you think. It's probably been my entire life.
I know, but at the same time, you've also built it for other people too within those startups.
So what happens if we've always worked for someone else? We think there's security in working for someone else. And the reality of it is there's no security in working for anyone else because they can go under. So it was always me wanting to work harder for other people. And if it was theirs, I could do really well. And then it came to myself, and I'm like, okay, well, why am I doing this for other people and not myself? Mm-hmm. And I could compare myself to people on the internet and say, oh, well, you know, I'm jealous. And the reality was I wasn't jealous. I was just wondering why they were getting the exposure and I wasn't. So I had to say, okay, what are the things that I can do that's going to get me out there to get noticed, to be an expert in the field that my clients were telling me that I should have done years ago? So I had to figure out, okay, why do I do things for people? And what do I feel that money is either a positive or a negative? And I had to work on that aspect because I loved helping people. And what would happen was I'd get into a conversation with someone and they'd say, well, that's kind of expensive. What do you think? And what I realized is the more that I had in my account, the more I was helping other people. So I had to make a decision. Why do I sacrifice myself to become secure in what I needed to do? When the reality of it is, regardless of what they paid me, I was still giving them 110% of what I was worth. Mm-hmm. The thing was, when I was discounting those particular people were not doing the program. But when people invest in themselves, They do a lot more. And what I got out of it was that's how that money kept accumulating correctly. It had nothing to do with my system. It had to do with the value in which I looked at that system. Because here's the thing, you can repeat it over and over, regardless of where I did it. From personal training, I hit every record known to mankind. I did it for someone else. When I was a massage therapist, I couldn't do any more because my hands were shot. The thing was, why was it for me different? And here's what I have to say to people. To be successful, you have to believe in you first. Yep. And realize that the income you're producing is what your value is. So if you're devaluing yourself, you have to figure out what your value is. Why am I worth this? Mm-hmm. And ask people, what do I do for you? Is that significant? And the thing that's interesting is, they're like, you should be charging more. I went to a coach who is killing it. And he's like one of the big, his name's Adam Urbanski. I mean, the guy's amazing, I think. And he goes, my program's $30,000. I'm like, okay. And he's like, hey, it's 30 minutes. Usually I don't do these intakes, but I wanted, to jump in on this one and do it. I said, okay. So we got to the 30-minute mark, and I'm like, Adam, I know your time's valuable. And he goes, Sean, what you are offering is very interesting to me, so keep going. I'm like, really? So when I was done, he goes, dude, your program's worth at least $15,000 for 3 months. He goes, what do you charge? I said, 3. He goes, why? Mm-hmm. Because what you've put together is like astonishing. Like, really, I don't see anyone else out there doing what you're doing. He goes, why do you not believe you're this value? And I had to sit there and say, okay, is there something in my past that's telling me? And I think I came to the ability to say, hey, that's enough. We're getting by. It's okay. And I'm like, well, why is it enough now? Because I don't want to be greedy. And what's greed? But if I'm giving people value, this is what I'm doing now. And I realize that, hey, I'm not taking money from people. They're actually giving it to me. Yeah. So that's the thing, is I'm providing a service. They're getting great benefits. They're making great strides, personal, professional. I saved even marriages, which I didn't intend to, but it went out well. It's just communication skills. It went well. Great. Kind of interesting. I'm like, really? I saved your marriage? I had 2 people the other day. I haven't seen them in years. And they said, you saved my life. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, I just felt awkward telling you because I wasn't successful when we first spoke, but now I am. I said, what does that have to do with anything? That's cool. And that was just information I was giving. And here's the thing. The people who really need what you're doing sometimes don't want it. And I found that out today. I said, hey, I've got something you may be interested in. Let's talk about it. I'm too busy. I don't have time. I'm not interested. And I said, you're not interested in having a conversation with a friend who can maybe help you de-stress your time and your energy to be more successful? I don't have time for anything you're selling. I'm like, wow. Okay. I said, when you are ready to be highly successful, motivated, to inspire other people like I know you can, please give me a call. And that's how I left it. The thing was, there are people in their lives like I was, who are so spinning out of control that they don't realize what they're actually doing is hurting themselves. And they think they have to do it on their own. And if you've noticed, and I've noticed, we have to create a team that supports us. It's okay to do it on your own in the beginning, but there comes a point where you can only do so much, and that your calendar is so full, you're getting burned out, and you're not exercising, you're not taking care of yourself, and you're wondering why everyone is against you. And what the reality of it is you have to step outside and say, hey, my value and my time is worth much, much more to me. You up level, be it charging more or taking on team members to become successful. And that's what I had to do. I really had to say, hey, I'm doing this for my clients. Why am I not doing it for myself all the time? And those clients who I've watched go from 80,000, who are so freaked out that their autoimmune issues kicked in and they're like, I'm going to go to the hospital, to a year later making $1 million. And you're going, dude, and they're like, hey man, you did this. I'm like, no, I held you accountable. You did it. I'm happy for you. And that's the coolest thing, is they start referring you to people that say, hey, this is the person that got me started, or this is the person that kept me accountable. And the thing was, I had to break through those areas where I didn't feel I was worth it. And I felt like this would never go the way I wanted it to. And I was getting mad at them when reality was I was pissed at myself. And I had to really sit down and say, hey, why are I not doing what it takes to become successful? And if you talk to anyone out there who's doing it, they'll tell you they have a routine, they do it every day. And it's interesting. I would rather take someone who's completely naive and work with them, or hugely successful and work with them. The people in the middle think they got it all figured out and they're just going nowhere. And those are the ones who really need it. But the reality of it is they'll never understand it until something happens in their life that they have to react to it. Mine was cancer, other injuries. I'm grateful I survived. The thing is, there are people who go through events who still don't get it. And that's, their calling. That's their road they're traveling down. The thing is, we can run next to them. We just can't do it for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you actually mentioned something. You're big into morning rituals and daily rituals and things like that. Could you share a little bit about yours?
So,
and we are going to have to keep it a little bit tight because we're going to be 20 minutes and we're already over.
So this is how it works. Morning, before I wake up, the alarm goes off quick. I put on a YouTube meditation and go with it. It's 15 minutes long. That turns off, go downstairs, start the coffee or hot tea because the coffee tears me up. Eat something. I hit the gym right away. I've got an hour to go to the gym at the same time getting my daughter ready for school, drop her off, hit the gym, come back. I haven't even checked my emails yet because they'll wait. They're not going anywhere. Then bingo, get into doing my follow-ups, a couple of clients in the morning. Lunch, from there, do a couple more calls. At that point, I write down at the end of the day, say 5, 6 o'clock, hey, what happened today that really inspired me? What am I grateful for? Then have dinner, unwind a little bit, read a little bit. As I go to bed, boom, turn on another meditation and just fall asleep to it. And that's how it works. I'll probably hit that 6 days a week out of the 7.
Wow.
And it's just like brushing your teeth. You miss once, not that big of a deal.
That's kind of gross, though.
Yeah, but miss 3 or 4 times and watch what happens to your teeth.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you look at brushing your teeth once, what do you think this whole routine does? Think about just getting your body energized and keeping it healthy as possible. If you're not, it gets a little gross. And it does. And then you fall apart and go through the same routine and wonder what hell happens. And when I jump in with a client, I ask them, I know you're not doing this. They're like, how do you know? I'm like, I can just tell how you're acting.
Yeah.
Because when you're on, you're on. And you can always tweak that a little bit more to get more out of you. And I do give techniques for in that conference you have to go to or that special event. We're going to ramp you up so you can be on point. And then when you come down, we'll help you get rid of that inflammation, that adrenaline rush as you get shaky when you're done and not realize how well you did, and then get ready for the next event. And that's the main focus that I like to help people with. Let's get a daily routine, and then when you're ready to jump, I'm there to support that jump and explain certain things that are going to occur as this program progresses for you.
That's amazing. So, all right. So then what is the one thing, because you helped me start, you actually, and this is just insight for everybody that's viewing.
Right.
I met Sean when I was still working, before I helped any of the startups out. I was still working for a software company as the corporate sales manager and marketing guru that would go back and forth between the marketing and the sales teams. And I had a global sales team. And how much sleep was I getting? Like none, right? I was stressed out. I was maxed. I was making good money, but stressed out. And Sean actually got me to the point where he said, what do you want to be doing? And I got in there and I said, I want to be helping startups, and I want to brand them, and I want to fill in those holes that it's so much easier for a smaller organization to take the advice than it is to try to turn a ship that's already, in path. And he got me there, man. Like I credit a lot of that to Sean. So
Thanks.
Yeah, well, you're all right.
And it's fun watching you go through your achievements. And then I know when you're starting to struggle, and we get real, and when we get real, it does center you back to where you're like, this is normal. It's okay to be this way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I keep it pretty transparent and real with everybody that, I'm still building, and I was getting a lot of my business over the last 2 years by referral. And now we're starting to be a little bit more out there, it's a fun process. And I don't know how much you want to say, but if you could tell our viewers to do only one thing to prevent burnout, and then I kind of want you to go in quickly and talk about what you've got going on.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
So burnout is basically a bunch of different things that are happening at once that your normal stress level, it goes a little bit further along. And a lot of people don't realize they're going through burnout because they're not stressed out. So the one thing I'll tell people immediately is if you're needing to use caffeine or stimulants to keep yourself going, you're already in burnout. If you don't have a daily routine that allows you to stand up every hour, take a breath, be grateful for what's going on, you're probably in burnout. If you dismiss anything new as I don't have time, if you ever say I'm too busy, you're in burnout. Because successful people always have time. And how they do it is they maximize it. So look through and this is the simplest thing, look through your day, create a calendar, put everything that you have to get done into that calendar. Give yourself that free time for you to grow, to relax, to be creative, because if you don't, you will burn out. And I think the main thing is when you do discover you're burning out, unplug everything. Take that day, because you're not going to be able to sustain that burnout. But if you take that day off, you can recuperate yourself and keep going from there. And the things that I have going on right now, I'm working with a really cool company that you introduced me to called Alexander's Grace. We're doing some really cool things. I've got a program coming out called Temple Transformation. It works on mind, body, spirit. So what we're going to be doing with that is launching it through that company. I'm helping create modules to teach people how to center themselves, find out what they're passionate about, create that dream and that vision, and then the action steps that it takes to make those things happen.
Very
so that's
cool.
it. And thanks for having me on here. It's fun spreading these messages out.
Yeah, and you have a book that you're working on, yeah?
Well, yeah, the book is not necessarily my book. It was a vision I had. What the book is about are all these successful people that are out there who've gone through some struggle, who've created a system to go become successful, then who are giving back. And the thing is, the common theme is they've all been through the same style of tragedy. They organically, some of them found a way, others followed a process. Once they got finished, they wanted to do this for a living. They created a company or a business or a product or a service, and then they started giving back. And there's some guys in there. One guy I went to middle school with, Chris Waddell. He's got a movie called One Revolution. The guy is paralyzed from the waist down, and he climbed Mount Kilimanjaro on a hand cycle. Another guy is named Mike Rogers, double cancer survivor, professional skateboarder, is putting together all kinds of cool things for kids that have cancer to help support them financially. And there's probably, I put it out to 58 people. There's a story that everyone can resonate with. There's some amazing ones of mothers and fathers, of business owners, of young people and old people. And the reality of it is there have been a couple people who I've asked and who actually, because of what they were going through, haven't made it. And, their legacies will still live on. I'll talk about what impact they had on me, what impact they've had on the world. And it is by far one of the most amazing things that when you get a group of like-minded people together, we can do anything and we can inspire anyone. And that's the coolest thing that I want to do for people, is to say, hey, you might not see yourself in the guy that climbed the mountain, but you do see yourself in the woman who created a job, who's a single parent, who went for it, who dove in and had no plan B. And that's the cool thing, is starting a cleaning company to producing huge companies that are doing amazing things in the world. It's all doing what you're passionate about and being successful at it, and realizing it's okay to fail, because every time we do, we learn and we just get back up and do more.
Love it.
Cool.
All right, Sean. Well, hey, thank you so much for being a part of this. And I will be very, very excited to see how many people follow you, follow the link, and see what you are up to, because I know some big things are coming your way soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.